Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closures.io, where we explore the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Milan Kohut, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced, the lessons learned, and the strategies fueling future growth. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Stephan Alheim, the owner and founder of Heim Fitness LLC and the TA4 Fitness System, serving as a certified personal trainer specializing in longevity fitness for adults over 40. He coaches busy professionals and entrepreneurs through his signature 90-day remote program, Strong for Life, the anti-aging movement method, which targets stronger movement, better energy, and powerful aging without time-wasting workouts. With that being said, Stephan, let me officially welcome you to Founders Future.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here.
It's great to have you, man. I was looking forward to the conversation. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right into it. What I love to do at the beginning of every single episode is a bit of traveling back in time. So before you even had this company, what were you doing before? And then eventually, what was the motivation for starting the business?
Yeah, no problem. So I like to say, back in when I was going through high school, so in the 80s, I'm 51. So back then, no one ever told you to do what you love. And if they did, I would have been playing basketball, said I want to play basketball, video games, and maybe work out, the rest of my life. But I fell into IT because one of my uncles said I make a lot of money in IT. So I was in IT for 20 years. And overall, I would say I like the people I work with, but I was burned out in the job. But I was just going to continue on. But then one day, my sister called me. It was August 20th, 2015. And she said, hey, Dad's in the hospital. You need to come right now. And my dad was overall pretty healthy. And I was like, what's going on? She's like, you need to get here right now. So I went to the hospital, and we found out my dad had a heart attack. He was still to this day, it still brings pain because, it was one of those shocking moments. But turns out he had CPR for 20 minutes. He came back to life, but he was on life support. And so the doctors told us that, we're going to have to let him go because it's our choice, of course, but he was on life support. He might be brain dead. So that night, my dad was gone. And before that, I had a pretty good life. I can't say I had a lot of trauma in my life. So that really, after kind of recovering from that, it really made me realize life is short and that every moment here is just a blessing that we be here. And so I want to do what I love. So I was training people on the side just because I enjoyed doing it. And so I immediately said, I need to make a career change to do this. So I started getting a bunch of certifications, learning more and more. And in 2018, I left to form Heim Fitness LLC and love what I do and haven't looked back. But it's definitely a journey. But I like to say, looking back on my old man, I like to say that, I think he'd be proud of what I did because it takes courage to just leave. Like even people who doubted me, and said, why are you leaving a great management job in IT? But, life is short and you got to take your risks. And so I'm happy I did it and life is great now, but that pain is still there, but you use it to motivate you.
Yeah, well, listen, my man, one thing is for sure, he definitely is proud. So I really appreciate you being vulnerable on the podcast here with me and the audience. Sometimes it takes those big moments, those shocking moments for us to have like those aha moments and big pivotal moments of realization. So I love that this is what you decided to do with your life and dedicate your life helping others, making sure that we're healthy, that we're not only successful when it comes to work and everything, but really taking care of this, right? The body,
Yes.
the spirit, and just growing in life in general. So beautiful, man. This is a powerful story. You almost got me weeping as well with you. So we're gonna move on to something else though. But no, seriously, what I want to talk about is obviously I'm pretty sure you, as any other business owner, had a lot of adjustments and pivoting along the journey, right? It's
Yes.
inevitable. This is a part of the journey. So we're going to talk about where the journey got you overall and what the business really looks like today. And my goal in this part of the podcast is really bring some clarity to our listeners in terms of who it is exactly that you're trying to help right now, but also what are the core offerings that you really have in terms of your clients and the ways that they can work with you. So tell us all
Okay.
about it.
All right. Yeah. So when I first started off as any coach back in 2018, it was almost all in person. And then through the years, I realized that I was doing a lot of the same stuff. And then when COVID happened, I switched quickly online because I had that technology background. So I was one of the few coaches who actually revenue went up during COVID. A lot of people lost money. I was able to transition pretty quickly. And then I realized also that since I'm doing a lot of the same stuff, even though mine is very specific and based on movement screens, everybody, there's still a lot of basic movement components, strength components I work on with all my clients. So I started filming myself talking to a screen as if it was a personal training session. And so I'm transitioning right now fully. I still have in-person clients, but I'm trying to transition fully to more remote because I can help more people. The people who are in that program are just very successful. And the people I like to help are people who I like to say I train for life, not looks. So anyone who's competing to be a bodybuilder, that's not a client for me. I like to say that I help people over 40 because I've realized how much my own body has changed. And and I think that a lot of people, we all start off exercising on our own, but there's going to come a point in life for everybody where what you're doing isn't working as well or things change. And a lot of my clients come from backgrounds like that, where they've been working out 25 years and they're like, this just doesn't feel right. And then when I add that component of that movement screen plus mobility work plus strength and end range plus breath work and things that they're probably not working on, soft tissue health, it just adds up to a really nice system. And so that's kind of how I've been building it, and that's kind of who I've been helping. And so it's been going great, and I love what I do, and I always want to help more people.
Yeah, man, I can definitely feel the passion though. So there is literally no doubt about that. But beautiful. Now that we have a better understanding of who it is that you're focused on, why don't we bring a bit more clarity in terms of the ways that people work with you? I feel like everybody in your industry has their own little spin in terms of the structure and the way they interact with clients. But when it comes to your services, is this solely one-on-one coaching calls, or is it group setting? How long does it take for you to basically work with your client and set them up for success? Just tell us more.
Yeah. So I like to say all my clients I work with one-on-one via the remote coaching system. So everyone gets their own log into my app, and I build their program based on how they score on the movement screen and their goals and their time. And all my stuff can be done from home with just a pair of adjustable dumbbells. I try to keep it that way. And I like home workouts because there's no excuses. I think going to a gym's an excuse. But if you can work out at home and you're willing to have a spot where you can just, hey, one day the shoulder's feeling tight, I learned this awesome stretch, I can do the extra stretch, things like that. It just matters. So all my clients work out remote on their own terms. I put the workouts in the app for them. They just log in, hit play, and they're able to do the workouts. I check in once a week with everybody. In the beginning, I always start on a movement screen, and that's either in person if they're in here in Chicago or online via Zoom. It's 90 minutes. I spend a lot of time figuring out how the body moves, what their goals are. We really have a good deep talk. I don't sell to everybody. So if they're a good fit for my program, they get in. But from there, once I get that baseline, then I'm able to design the program. We check in weekly. I give them feedback via Loom or Zoom, depending on if we need to talk more. And then every week I can see their progress in the app. I can see how they're marking the workouts. And then I just keep building from there. And at the end of 90 days, like we talked about in the beginning, I do another assessment to show them how much they've improved because measurements are really important, right? You can look in a mirror and see results, but if you really have the data behind it, that's where that comes in. And then after that, we move on to phase two and we just keep building from there. And that's kind of how I start off with all my clients.
I love it. So 90 days, that's the kind of time frame that you're looking for to basically see the big initial transformation and the very clear outcome. So now that and also one thing to clarify though, when it comes to the group coaching that I asked you about a couple minutes ago, the
Yeah.
reason why I wanted to get your perspective on this is not only because obviously it's helpful and beneficial for people to be part of something bigger than just themselves and really seeing other people going through the journey through the same issues, but also it makes a lot of sense from like business perspective and the business lens, right? Because you can
Yes.
impact a lot of people at the same time. So very many people from your industry are actually leaning towards something like this. I'm curious, what is your perspective on it? Do you feel like this is a part of your future plans, or?
Yeah, definitely. So I am trying to build up more of what I call the TA4 community for my system and stuff. And I do have a community in the app, and I'm trying to do more outings and bring more networking meetings together and maybe Zoom meetups and stuff like that. But also to create more camaraderie and like certain workouts that I do are pretty unique, I think, and to get people to post in the app about how they scored on them and different things. But I definitely think community is so important. It's so important for health, for longevity and stuff like that. So I do need to keep building that up and making that better so my clients feel like they're part of a family. So I definitely got to work on that, something in progress for sure.
Beautiful. Something to look forward to, 100%.
Yes, for
Because
sure.
that move is literally booming when it comes to your industry. So I definitely feel like that's the right step also for you. But let's talk about the backend side of the business for a second. Because we all know that making it succeed with your business, one of the key components is having a good client acquisition system in place.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, what is really happening on the front of marketing for you, or maybe specifically generating contacts and leads for yourself to make all of this happen and have the ability to onboard new clients into your programs and keep changing lives?
Yeah, I definitely think that that's always a work in progress. And right now, I would a bunch of different windows. Of course, I got my local Google searches that come up. I have my BNI network for referrals. I also have my social media, which has been growing and been getting better. So those are kind of my main channels, I would say, and then referrals, of course, from clients who've been successful with me in the past. But I can always do better. In fact, I would say that lead consistency is one of the areas where I'm trying to work on the most. And having a predictable client acquisition system is what I'm really trying to build with tools. And being a solopreneur, I don't want to hire anybody. I don't mind if I get some, maybe some assistants to help me out or something like that. But I want to try and keep the business as lean as possible using systems and even AI technology in the back end to help me. So that's definitely a work in progress. But I would say those are my three main systems right now, but definitely needs to build up from there because I want to help more people.
I appreciate the transparency though. I feel like this is the never-ending question of like what is going to work for me the best.
Yes.
But when it comes to the strategies though, I'm curious, everything that you've mentioned so far is on the side of organic, right?
Mhm.
Especially if you talk about like word of mouth and referrals, which there's typically a lot of frustration about the inconsistency. So as
Yep.
you said, in order to build something more predictable and scalable, I'm curious, have you tried other sources, whether that's strategic partnerships, whether that's running page on social media? Have you dabbled into it?
Very little, and I would say I'm unsuccessful in the same way, say someone who exercise prides and see the results that they do on their own because I'm not an ads expert, right? Just I'm a coach, and so that's my expertise. And so even though I've dabbled in it, I've been unsuccessful. So I do need to look more into that. In fact, that's going to be the next phase of my business as I work to transition more of my in-person clients into the remote coaching system, which has just been very successful. Then I'm going to have free up more time for me to work on these things and start getting more into paid ads and partnerships and stuff. I do have affiliates I work with and other stuff like that, but I definitely need to build that up more. And I also want to become a better speaker. So I love being here and trying getting on this and trying it out. So I want to get more on podcasts. There's a lot of areas I want to move into next year as I grow my business.
Well, you're doing a great job, man. If this is one
Thank
of the
you.
goals and becoming a public
Yes.
speaker, then yep, you're on the right track, 100%.
Thank you very
Beautiful.
much.
Stephen, again, I really appreciate the transparency and you just keeping it real though, because I always say when it comes to business, the journey is never going to be linear. It's never going to be just
Mhm.
sunshine and rainbows. There is always going to be something that you still need to figure out, right?
Yes,
So
100%.
one thing that I want to talk about is you just mentioned a couple minutes ago that with you being a solopreneur, you're not really looking to hire anybody else. Now, delegation is really becoming one of the biggest topics on the
Mhm.
podcast. So I'm curious, what is the philosophy here in terms of building the company further? Would you say that you still want to keep it smaller, sustainable, something that you can really run as a one-man show? Or would you eventually be open to creating the ecosystem that supports other people coming in?
So I definitely would be willing at the right place and time. Like I feel like I built up my system enough that I would almost perhaps one day like to create a certification out of it, but that's really big picture and farther along. Because I feel like that movement and mobility and soft tissue area and building strength through range of motion is often missed in standard workouts and stuff. So there's definitely a possibility there. I also wouldn't mind getting the right coach on. When I was a manager in IT, I hired and fired people, and it's definitely an interesting area. People obviously can make it much better, but can also complicate it very much so. And so, as much as I can use, being a once again technology background, systems and AI to automate things to help me do things, but I have to keep that personal touch. I would never, hand off everything to AI, of course. But I'm going to be trying to build that up with as many systems because I feel like also if your business grows too fast and your systems aren't ready to support it, you're in trouble. So I'm a big system thinking guy. So I want to get all that in place, and then as I grow, then I'll have those options of possibly hiring someone and getting someone on the team who's as passionate as myself and wants to help people as much as me because I'm getting old. I do want to retire someday.
No, but this makes a lot of sense, though. I always say this, the idea of growing the company and scaling, no matter what the business is very attractive, right? But at the same
Mhm.
time, if you don't really take the time to build those right fundamentals, it's just going to come crashing down. Now, do we
Yeah.
want that? We don't. So
Correct.
this is definitely the healthy perspective to have. But also, let's talk about the future goals. Obviously, there is a lot of ambition that I'm seeing and hearing.
Mhm.
So when you think about maybe the next 6 to 12 months, what would you say really are those biggest targets, biggest goals, revenue, milestones that you want to hit?
Yeah, so I would say right now, primarily this next 12 months for sure, I want to shift my revenue from in person to all strictly remote over the next year. The system's been working well. I want to do that. I need to maintain the same level of retention. I have when I've done research on industry retention for coaches, I've seen that it's significantly lower than mine. And so I need to maintain that same level of retention and personal touch to keep those renewals because I would rather have 100 clients or if I'm like 40 clients for 3 years than 100 clients just changing out every 3 months. So those are big goals there. I want to just build smarter, repeatable lead generation. And then I want to, of course, grow my revenue, which will also help more people. And so my next target revenue goal is going to be 15K consistent months, but also with that same process of shifting it to remote coaching. So I would say that I'm not chasing explosive growth, kind of as we talked about there, and not looking to hire and just grow super fast. But I want to get durable, sustainable income and just keep slowly growing until the point comes when there's an opportunity to go even further.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, when you think about hitting all those goals, out of everything, what would you say is probably going to become the biggest challenge to make it happen?
That's a good question. I would say right now, definitely client getting the client's lead consistency is going to be the hardest, and that's why I need to look into other avenues in order to grow that because I feel like the retention has been solid. So that's one thing I have down. The system is good. It gets results proven by movement screens. So I definitely need to increase the focus on client acquisition, getting people to see me, getting in the door, and then getting those calls booked so I can help more people and the right people.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Now, looking at the world that we live in, I also want to circle back to something that you mentioned a couple of minutes ago.
Mhm.
You talked about automation and really leveraging on the potential of AI. Well,
Yes.
today everything is about AI. So I'm also
Yes.
curious if there's something that you maybe implemented recently within your company and you could really call it a game changer for yourself.
I would say, I mean, overall, all the AI tools have been really helpful as a solopreneur. I mean, I use HeyGen for a digital avatar for me to do social media. I use Gamma.app to help with Canvas and stuff like that. So all the tools out there are very helpful, but I would say they save time, which is huge. And that's the biggest thing that I think we all wish we had more of is time. And so I would say that implementing these tools, like even a video editor, I don't pay a video editor for my videos. I use another tool there. So I think that's captions.ai. So I have all these tools I've been experimenting with. And so I would say that just trying them out and seeing which one works for you and using just AI in general hey, I like to use AI as a think partner and not as a off source to do your work. So I like to
Mhm.
brainstorm with it and use it as a partner and not as a do this for me because that's just going to not make you a better coach. So I would say that that's
Smart
kind of how
though.
I look at the
And this is
tools.
how you still keep it like authentic, right? As you said
Yes.
yourself, you still want to make sure that no matter what you do, it's still you, right?
Yes.
So th this is definitely how to go about it. Beautiful. Now, Stephen, let me ask you this question. Obviously, you've been in the industry for a long time. You've been running this as a business owner, entrepreneur. We talked about how many trials and tribulations there were in terms of the journey. So I want to reflect on that journey and ask you one of my favorite questions ever. If you could maybe travel back in time and sit across yourself, younger self, maybe at the very, very beginning of your journey as an
Mhm.
entrepreneur, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Oh, I would definitely say it's going to be way harder than you think it is, but it's going to be worth it because there were times where I remember when I first started and I went on to business of my own and I was just walking around city streets in Chicago, walking into doors, trying to build leads up for a gym I was renting space at. And and I mean, of every 100 attempts, you might even barely get, one person interested or two people interested. It was challenging. And I also thought, I know all these people, everyone's going to want to work with me. I know people. And I built up this career in IT and I have all these IT guys who can use my help. And everyone is so concerned with what they have going on in their own world that they're not going to be like, I need to help this young business entrepreneur and stuff like that. So it's definitely harder than I thought it would be. And I also like to say, full accountability is on ourselves. If we're not where we want in life, we need to look in a mirror. We don't need to blame this or that. We need to just say, I'm not where I want to be in health and life and business because of me. It's not because of other things. And I think that accountability that really kind of brings it into to say that this is the point here. This not blaming something else. So I think that all those things are important lessons I learned through the years.
I love this because this is truly relevant to every single aspect of our lives.
Yes.
And the same way as your clients really need to take ownership
Hmm.
of what they've been doing, the kind of lifestyle they've been leading, the same we have to do with every single aspect. So beautiful. Stephen, listen, I want to say again, thank you for being so vulnerable the entire conversation. Keep it real. I enjoyed the conversation. So I'm really glad that you took the time out of your day and made an appearance on the podcast. Now, if anybody from the listeners would like to get in touch with you, perhaps even work with you, how should they go about it?
Well, they can definitely find me on most of the social medias at TA4 Fitness. Sometimes I had to squeeze an underscore in there because that brand name was stolen under Instagram, for example. You can also go to my webpage right now. For some reason, I got to figure out the www is not working. So if you just type in ta4fitness.com, it'll get you there. You can look at my page. You can apply. You can reach out for a free every single time that when you apply or when you book a call with me. It's just a free call, just a discovery call to talk about you and your goals and if we're a fit, and then we take it further. So the first call, I like to say, don't even have a credit card nearby. We're just going to talk. And that's how we can just start the conversation, and give me a follow on social media. Ask me questions there. I love what I do. Even when people ask me like questions on social media, I'll turn it into a post because it's just a nice way to help people.
Beautiful. Thank you again. It was a pleasure to have you here.
I am so grateful for that you guys reached out. This was an awesome experience, and I love doing this. I'm looking forward to more. So thank you very much again, too.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks.
Now, to our listeners, if today's conversation inspired you as well, make sure to subscribe to Founders Future on your favorite platform. And also, if you're a business owner, more specifically a consultant or a coach, or you have an agency, and you're trying to scale the business and really enhance both your marketing and sales efforts, also visit closers.io, get in touch with our team, and discover how exactly we scaled our company from 0 to over 30 million per year in less than 3 years.
Wow.
Until then, keep on crushing it, and I'll see you on the next one.